Hi everyone, I'm continuing my journey on the Central Coast into Santa Cruz County to look for 4 creepy places. My first stop is at the Tootle Mansion in Watsonville, California. The Tootle Mansion was constructed in 1889 and was the residence of Morris B. Tootle, who moved to California from Iowa. He had hired architect William Weeks, who created a number of notable homes to design his home. The building served as an apartment complex and many businesses before a family bought it in 1974. The current owners claim there is definitely something otherworldly at work here. Certain rooms are more active than others, with many occurrences happening, such as footsteps being heard, doors slamming, a dinner bell being rung, old typewriters typing by themselves, loud banging, drawers being opened on their own, as well as sightings of Morris Tuttle himself gazing out a second-story window.
Further north in Watsonville is the Tootle Mansion, better known for a series of tragic events, including a murder, a suicide, and an accident where the person died in the mansion.
Our store is the actual carriage house to the mansion, and both of them are haunted.
Don and Kelly are the owners of the antique store right next to the Tootle Mansion, and they mentioned the porch lights that flicker.
And a lot of times the spirits will attach themselves to something and go home with somebody.
Because we've had people tell us that things have happened at their house since they bought the item from our store.
Do you know any scary stories here on the Central Coast? In Watsonville, I'm Melody Waintel with KION News Channel 46.
I am now at the Hines House in Santa Cruz, California. The Hines House was built in 1888 for Alfred Joseph Hines and his wife Sarah. Alfred was a shop owner, and he also did real estate in Santa Cruz. Many years before the Hines house was built, him and his wife Sarah had 4 children, but they all died when an epidemic swept Santa Cruz in 1876. They eventually moved into the house and had 5 more children. One of those 5 eventually died, and the other 4 survived into adulthood. Alfred eventually died in 1921, and the house was purchased by many more people and eventually was turned into a boarding house. Rumor has it that the Hines children haunt this house. Even though the first 4 children who died were never at this location, they do haunt the grounds and play tricks on people who live here. Upon my visit, I did not encounter any ghost kids, but it is a creepy thing to think about. I am now at the Sunshine Villa Assisted Living Facility, formerly known as the McRae Hotel in Santa Cruz. This former hotel is where Alfred Hitchcock got the idea for Psycho from. The McRae Mansion was built in 1867. In 1926, it was turned into the McRae Hotel. A lot of people think Alfred Hitchcock got the idea for the Psycho House from a house in Ohio, and also a painting from 1925 called House by the Railroad, which was painted from a real home in Haverstraw, New York. All of these locations most likely inspired the design of the Psycho House, but Hitchcock's wife, Alma, confirmed that Alfred patterned the Bates Motel off of the McRae Hotel. He and his wife lived in a giant estate in the hills above Santa Cruz, so he was very familiar with the hotel. Hitchcock himself says in the book, Hitchcock Truffaut, the actual locale of the events from Psycho is in Northern California. This type of house is California Gothic. When the building was condemned, it was occupied by drug dealers, cultists that held satanic rituals there, and was a home to serial killer Herbert Mullen in the early 1970s during the peak of his killing spree. Santa Cruz was called Murder Capital of the World due to 3 active serial killers in Santa Cruz in the early 1970s. Hence the film The Lost Boys being filmed here, but claiming the fictitious town name of Santa Carla, it still was called the Murder Capital of the World in that movie. In the 1980s, it became an assisted living place, which it still is today. Now on to the hauntings. Staff, residents, and visitors report paranormal activity all the time, including feeling cold spots, mysterious lights down hallways, the sound of women's voices being heard, and one employee claimed to have seen blue mist materialize right in front of their eyes. I'm making my way up into the mountains of Santa Cruz to the Brookdale Lodge.
One of our sightings investigative teams is studying a haunting case right now in Northern California, where apparitions, poltergeists, eerie sounds, odors, and electrical disturbances have all been reported. It's the old Brookdale Lodge, a dilapidated country inn that over the last half-century has played host to everyone from presidents to Satan worshippers, and stands on the site of a Native American burial ground.
The land was originally owned by the Grover family in the late 1800s. A neighbor, Judge James Harvey Logan, owned land next to the Grovers, and he bought their property in 1903, and that same year he converted it to the Minnehaha Hotel, where 40 rooms were added. In 1908, he changed the name to the Brookdale Hotel. James Harvey Logan is also famous for creating a Loganberry in 1881 when he crossed a blackberry and a raspberry. Logan's first wife, Catherine, died at their family home on the hotel's property in 1909. During the 1920s through the 1940s, it was known as a getaway spot for gangsters, including Al Capone. Meetings among wise guys would go wrong and fights would break out. Some were reportedly murdered on the property. They even built a special tunnel that led to a small room known as the notorious Meat Locker underneath the lodge so victims could not be heard screaming as they were killed. The lodge hosted many famous people such as President Herbert Hoover, James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, Mae West, Shirley Temple, Rita Hayworth, Joan Crawford, Tyrone Power, Howard Hughes, Joan Crawford, Henry Ford, Hedy Lamarr, and many, many more. Marilyn Monroe herself stayed at the lodge so often she had her own suite known as the Marilyn Monroe Suite. In 1955, a flood raced through the lodge, and the following year, the famous dining room burned down. Legend has it the property is said to have once been inhabited by the Ohlone Indians, who believed the creek on the land was a sacred healing source. Now, the land is said to be cursed. An ancient Indian burial ground is also said to be buried underneath part of the hotel. This whole place is very on point with The Shining. Many deaths and murders have happened over the years, and multiple psychics have claimed that there are about 49 ghosts that haunt this place.
This room has generally more negative energies in here. We have so many guests that they come on a tour this particular area, and they would definitely feel uncomfortable, or they feel like there's a heavy energy here.
The famous Brook Room, which is the giant dining room built in 1922, is the area where the dining room has a natural stream going through the hotel. This area has now been sealed off and you cannot get inside. Countless guests and staff report hauntings, seeing wet footprints walking, ghostly orbs, objects being moved, fingerprints showing up. People have even captured orbs and ghosts on film. The most famous ghost on the property that everyone sees is James Logan's 8-year-old blonde niece, Sarah Logan. In the early 1900s, Sarah was in the Brook Room, and she either got too close to the edge and slipped, or she was pushed, fell into the brook, hit her head, and died. Over the years, there are countless sightings reported of her being seen all over the grounds of the hotel.
In the Mermaid Room, an underwater floor show once entertained visitors in the 30s and 40s. Today, many people have seen a different kind of visitor in the Mermaid Room.
I saw like the glimpse of this child. And so I looked, twice, and it just sort of disappeared.
This is really where the major influence of the girl is. She's jumping, she's skipping, and she stops at this point. I can see her, and she pulls up her white stockings.
We call it the Mermaid Room. It's been called the Mermaid Room since its beginning, and so they actually had mermaid shows there. But then there was a girl at one point that had passed away in the pool also, and so it's believed that that the top deck of the pool is very haunted.
I was cleaning the tables, and when I looked up, I saw this little girl. Her face, her image was on the other side of the window.
Sometimes late at night when I'm locking up by myself, I'll hear a whole bunch of music, like old-time music, and I think it's coming outside, and I'll follow it, and it's coming from the Brook Room, and it's coming from by the kitchen, and I'll hear dishes banging around, and like someone's having a party, and I walk into it, and there's absolutely nobody there.
One is Sarah, and the other one is this grumpy, cranky, round, rotund man.
So if you want to see a ghost, come check out the Brookdale Lodge. Hopefully they will open the Brook Room again one day. Thank you guys for watching my video on Central Coast Ghosts. Stay tuned for another episode.